here we are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're coming in live. Past scheduled time, 16 seconds, and it's go live. Here we are with LinkedIn Live. Hi, Elizabeth. I'm here with Michelle. Please let us know if you're here, if you can hear us. Hashtag live if you're listening live. I'll mute some of my screens here. Too much sound happening. So yeah, for our people, are you here? Leave a comment. Let us know you're here. Can you hear us? Elizabeth and Michelle. And we're here today to talk about leadership presence. Here we go.
It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. So again, welcome to our LinkedIn Live Leadership Presence and why do conversations matter? This is our big question today. And today we're talking about leadership skills, and career advancement. So again, if you're here, leave a comment, drop a comment. Michelle, can you see the comments at all?
I can, yes.
Cool. Okay. So I have it also open on my phone here. So if you see me looking like this, that's what that's about. I'm not being creepy. So yeah, if you're listening, let us know. Let us know if you can hear us. Sound check. And a lot of people, when I start these, is this really for me? Especially if you're listening on the replay, hashtag replay, please let us know you're here. And this is for you, whether you're currently in a leadership position, a team leader or a C-level executive, or maybe you want to get there. If yes, this session is for you. And as I said before, I'm here live with Michelle Alexandrowicz, the CEO and founder of Engage. She's a talent consultant and leadership coach specializing in using people data to hire and keep the right candidates in the right positions for you so that your people, your company is engaged in your work, engaged in your purpose, and in your goal, all pulling together. And in Austria, they like to say pulling on the same rope, which I think is a fantastic image for that.
I like that.
And she's joining. You like that? Isn't that great?
That is
I love stealing idioms and phrases and imagery where I can and using it, especially when they just make so much sense. And she is joining us here today from Miami, Florida. So welcome from the USA. And it's supposed to be sunny there, but you said today?
No, it's a dreary morning here in South Florida, but it is the rainy season, so it is to be expected.
Whereas I'm calling in today from Vienna, Austria, where it's a gorgeous, beautiful, almost summer-like day. It's brilliant. And hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm the ECM of Talk with ECM, verbal branding expert, showing you exactly how to communicate with confidence so that you can attract attention, wow audiences, kick imposter syndrome to the curb, and get to yes. You know, some have recently even called me a ghost speaker, kind of like a ghost writer, but for speaking. So that way you can know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. So I think there are some things that overlap here. I just want to do a quick overview of our topics for today, and then we can dive in. Again, let me just check quickly here to see who's listening in. We've got some listeners on LinkedIn. Hi, give us a comment. Let us know if you can hear us. Hashtag live, hashtag repeat. And we also have some listeners on YouTube. So hi, we're live here. So if you drop a comment, we'll read it out and try and get to it while we're live. Bring your questions, bring your skepticism. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Good. So our topics for today, just a quick overview if you're joining us now. Leadership presence. Why do conversations matter? And we're just going to start with that question. Like, why do conversations matter? Are communication skills and people skills truly the linchpins of leadership presence? And talking about what to do. So what is leadership? What are my benefits from it? And how can I get it? So Michelle, I'd like to turn to you for our first question, if I may. And that is, what do you think? Based on your specific focus, professional focus, and experience with leadership and change management, why do conversations matter?
Conversations absolutely matter. They make or break everything. And why? Because I always say conversations are the catalyst for change. Conversations are the catalyst for growth. If you want to see a change in your own career, you need to talk to people. You need to communicate that you want that change. If you are trying to move a team through change, you need to have multiple conversations, because the way our brains work, the way we interact with people, very rarely do we hear one thing, one and done, and then we have it and we're good. The
I
way that we
wish.
learn, we learn through conversations, we learn through other people. So whatever work you're trying to do, it's going to come through a conversation.
I really like that. I really like that. Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. Conversation advocate right here. Because I think, just like you said, however you want to get ahead or make a change, conversations are the key to connect with others and basically unlock that door. If you want to talk professionally, which our focus is here today, sure, managers can't promote you, companies can't hire you, and customers won't buy from you if they don't even know you exist. So it's the conversations that enable that to happen.
Exactly. And
Absolutely.
it becomes a metric. How many times have you spoken to your team? How many times have you spoken to your manager? How many times told someone that you're looking for a promotion? All conversations. That's what's going to get things moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So clearly, I mean, we both agree. And I would even say personally, this is true too. I mean, think making friends, going on a date,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
getting your kids to clean the room, multiple conversations. I'm just saying, none of this can
Yeah,
happen without critical conversations, those
that's it.
connections, and coming to an agreement together. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think we agree conversations are important. Important. Additionally, not all conversations are equal or created equally, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say here? I mean, if I just say I'm having conversations all the time, why am I not getting ahead, right? I've rarely heard that, but I can imagine it happening. So, how would you say, Michelle, and I'll take the second question to you first again.
Okay.
How would you answer this question? Are communication skills and people truly the linchpins or the key elements of leadership presence?
I mean, overwhelmingly, yes, is the answer. And for years now, study after study after study, coming from universities, but also top consulting companies, are saying things like empathy is the most important leadership skill, the ability to connect with your team, psychological safety. And psychological safety is the ability to have difficult conversations.
Yes.
In leadership, there's a basic framework that says there's two major skill sets in leadership, and one is people skill set, and the other is process. And most people get promoted because they're really good at their job. Whatever process they are really good at executing, that's what brings them into the forefront of leadership. But when you get there, you can't run your process unless you can the vision clearly. You can't run your process unless you can delegate successfully and know who on your team has the skill set, the drivers, the motivators to be the most successful. And guess how you find out that information? Through conversations. You
Patience.
need to have those
Absolutely.
conversations with your people and your team. So, yes, people skills are the absolute linchpin to being able to be successful in a leadership role.
Excellent. Yeah, I completely agree. Now, I've noticed we've had some people listening in with no comments. Maybe they're on their phones or on the go, which is absolutely fine. I hope they would give us a comment or alert us if they can't hear us. And yeah, so we're good with that. But I agree 100%. Maybe we didn't pick such a controversial topic here. Maybe we picked something we kind of already agree with. But yeah, I agree. And it's kind of, in a previous conversation, we talked about going back to basics. It's kind of a no duh. Yeah, I knew it all along. But knowing it and executing it, knowing it and how to use it in real life are often two different things. And we're going to get to that in a hot minute. So, yeah, I agree. With traditional career development and advancement strategy, it's often focused on skills and experience. Like if you're really good at what you do, at executing tasks, you get promoted. But there comes a stop point, doesn't there?
Yeah,
It
and I
comes
think
as
the challenge, because you're right, I think there's a general agreement, like, yes, conversations are important, right? So I think there's two things behind it, is the how do I have these conversations, and that opens up a door for all of the different skill sets and the different types of conversations. But even just sticking with your topic of important, yes, but even to recognize that that's an important metric,
yeah,
and to think to yourself, like, when was the last time I talked to so and so? When was the last time I communicated the mission or vision to my company or team? So we spend a lot of time in the how, but what I really appreciate about this conversation is you're bringing it back to the just, are you doing the thing? Are you going to the gym? If you want to be a
yeah,
runner, if you want to be able to lift weights, you have to go to the gym every day. And conversations are the equivalent of
yeah.
going to the gym. And sometimes we forget that because we get pulled in a thousand different directions as leaders. We have a thousand things on our mind. And sometimes it's easy to forget the simplicity of, who did I talk to? Real quick, one of my clients talks about this all the time. They talk about the value of starting the day with conversation. So they say
Nice.
at 7, 8, 9 o'clock, when everyone gets in the office, a lot of the leaders have stated over, I want to go around and just say hello to my people in the morning.
That initial touch.
Conversation, conversation. Is it a big one? It's a simple conversation, but does it have a big impact? It
Significant.
has a huge impact. So that's a great
Yeah.
example of a simple conversation that we just kind of like, oh, I'm just saying hi to someone in the morning, but it makes a huge difference. And this is a great practice as a leader to think about, what are the types of conversations I am intentional to
Yes.
have every single day.
And I think that's something that we can learn a lot from our friends in the sales world, in the sales community, because they are
Yeah,
very good at and have a lot of experience with setting goals, tracking how many people am I going to have a conversation with, how many cold calls am I doing, how many times am I going to reach out, tracking that, setting goals. Did I achieve it? Did I not achieve it? And getting results. So using that as a currency, if you will. But
that's a
in
great
leadership,
example.
it's the same thing, and we can borrow this learning and have this cross knowledge share. And I love
Hmm.
this concept of that early morning conversation, this eye contact that says, I'm here, I see you're here, we're connecting. And that already sets a foundation for the rest of the day. If something comes up, if something happens, if there's a question, I'm here and I know you're here.
Right. Because if you have to have a difficult conversation with someone, you need to have a plethora of positive conversations. That's probably the number one request I get from leaders is, how do I have difficult conversations? And the best way to answer that is start with the easy ones.
Hmm.
Start with the simple good mornings, start with the positive feedback, start with the conversations that are easy, and have the patience. That's how you're building to be able to have those difficult conversations.
Oh, I really like that. And one thing that I think is important that I wanted to bring on, which you made a beautiful segue into, is talking about these management positions, leadership positions. It's not only showing direction and decision making and delegation, as you talked about earlier, but it's also bringing your team and others on board. It's bringing people on board, getting people collected around the same idea, motivating them, managing conflicts that come up, celebrating wins, and dealing with defeat, because all of that is going to happen. It's not if it happens, it's going to happen. And might as well
You
be prepared and ready for it before it happens. It just makes it a little bit easier, right?
Exactly. And you intentionally or unintentionally just identified the number one success factor of a successful team. And that is inclusion,
Oh,
inviting. So, inviting them through conversation to make them feel like they're part of the team is one of the number one drivers of a successful team. So, you want to be a successful leader, and to invite your people to the table.
get up to the table. I like that. Let
Hmm.
them know that their voice matters, their contribution matters. We're here, we hear you, we see you. Yeah, I really like that. Good. So now I just checked around again to see if there were any comments or questions. I still don't see anything. So if you're leaving a comment, I'm not seeing it, send me a private message or something because I'm not seeing it. If you're listening and just not commenting, we're glad you're here and we're glad you're contributing either live or on the replay. And again, you can follow both of us and continue the conversation via LinkedIn even after this session is over. Even after this session is over. Great. Now, let me find I have a couple different notes and a couple different things I'm juggling here all at the same time. It's always a fun thing. So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're in agreement here. Conversations are important, and I think we both agree that not all conversations carry the same weight,
Mm,
but but even small conversations are significant. I love the example you gave of that early morning greeting and how key that was to moving forward, to welcoming people in, to creating that connection, that positive connection before the tricky stuff comes along. Kind
yeah,
of,
conversation builds culture. So we talk about culture a lot in my work. Your team culture, your company culture. Guess how you build culture? Through conversations. And a lot of times leaders will say, like, well, what do I say? I'm like, tell them exactly what you told me. You said, Elizabeth, just now, like, hey, I value your feedback. Go tell them that. You don't have to be like sneaky or do it in a, you know, interesting kind. Just tell them directly. Your voice matters. I like when you speak up at meetings. You have good ideas. And that's it. Those few
yeah.
words.
Or even mention a specific one, like, hey, great question last week. I'm still trying to
Still
find the
thinking
answer
about
for
it.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
still thinking about it. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a thesis paper.
Mm-mm.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. How do I tell my team that they're doing a good job? You just say it like that.
Mhm,
Just tell them.
mhm.
So
I mean, I
leaders, if you're
think
listening, when was the last time you told your team you're doing a good job? Thank you for what you're doing. Appreciation,
it
conversations.
feels weird sometimes, just to say, "Thank you." A little cheesy. But I find that when I work with people, the first time, yeah, it might feel weird. The second time, probably still feels weird, but over time, not only does it get more routine and comfortable, but you can also find more specific ways. You can build up other muscles. Once you've already greased the connection or made it easy to say 2 words of great
Mhm.
job, now you can increase it to 4, or now you can say a specific thing. Loved your question during the meeting.
Right. And that's because it's a skill, right? It's
Absolutely.
a skill. So that means that discomfort that you're feeling, it just means it's a new skill set for you. Doesn't mean you're not good at it, doesn't mean you're a bad leader. It just means you're practicing a new skill.
Yeah.
You should be proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
every step's a step in the right
that's right.
direction.
That's right.
So, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at I have a course that I offer called Start Your Conversation with Success. And we're going to open this up. And Michelle has seen it once before, but we're going to look at it a little bit in depth here. And I just want to ask for her reactions. What does she think, especially with her experience with leadership and with career development, things like that? What does she think about these steps? How do they gel or not gel with her experience in the USA and in Florida? Because this was developed in Europe. So that's another thing to consider. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to see how whether it kicks out my face or whether we can both be here at the same time. This is the big question I've been working on all morning.
I hope they can see your model. It's such a great model. I'm excited that you're sharing it with all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here,
I can see it on my end.
you can see it on your end. Okay. Zoom in a little bit, and you can see right there at the top, it says, start your conversation with success. Oh, I don't think I can zoom in anymore.
It looks great. It's centered very well.
Yippee! 9 clear steps to clarify your words, build relationships, and go from invisible to completely irresistible. So that's the title of this, Start Your Conversation with Success. And I'm just going to double check here to see we have some people joining. All right. So this is the program. This is how we go through it. And I'm going to talk you through it just a little bit so that you can see how this is and then respond to it. Yeah, I can't tell on LinkedIn if you can see my face or not.
I can see it. I can see both of us and I can see the model.
Wow, super
Victory.
success. Wait a minute,
Victory.
victory dance. Okay, back to focus. Back to happy. All right, so on the left side here, you can see there are 3 different levels. And it starts out, I think you can see my mouse. Yes, you can. Starts out with you, your message, and your tribe. And it's a 9-step program that I take my clients through, starting here at the bottom, going serpentine up through the different steps. So let's just talk about that first. That division of finding you and your foundation, who you are, the rock solid foundation, magnetic attraction, how to attract others, and getting this mindset detox. And then breaking it down to the next one is the message. And we talk about how to create your message or your brand, their key message, and your tribe. That's the community and the people you're reaching to. Are these things that you are working with your clients as well?
All day long. And, you know, Elizabeth, direct me because I have so many things to say about your model. It's so strong, but the foundation starting with you
Mm,
is so important and it's so crucial. And if I can use some language that I use with my clients to kind of connect what we're talking about, when we talk about rock solid foundation, I talk about what's style, right? So a lot of
ooh,
people say, oh, I'm a servant leader or I'm a transformational leader, or they, we all pull from different models, but that's your foundation. What are your
yeah,
values as a leader, right? And the magnetic attraction, I always talk about followership. You're not a leader until you have followers. So that dynamic of leadership followership is what I think you're
yeah,
talking about in that magnetic attraction. And then this is the
absolutely.
last one I'll mention, the mindset detox. This is huge. We talk about this as leadership mindset. And one of the biggest issues I see with the leadership mindset is when you move from an individual contributor to a leader, there is a mindset shift that needs to happen. And most leaders
Essential.
that are unsuccessful remain in the individual contributor mindset and they don't make that shift to, okay, I'm managing a group. You're not doing everyone's individual contributions. Set shift that needs to happen in that. So that foundation of leadership, you hit the nail on the head with this. It starts with you.
Yeah.
Well done. Well
I
done.
mean, I found over and over and over again. I mean, this, if you want change to happen, if you want growth to happen, it has to start here.
That's
The
right.
focus has to start here. What am I bringing to the table? What am I working with? What do I have control over?
Mhm.
And it's all
How
right
do
here.
I respond to challenge? I had a mentor say to me, you cannot lead someone to a place that you have never been yourself.
Ooh,
So that means this is work that we need to do first as leaders. You want to have a difficult conversation? Think about the difficult conversations that you've had before. How did you
and we've
handle
all
it? How
been
did
there,
you
so you can't
respond?
say you haven't had
Yeah,
one.
exactly. We all have experience to pull from. We learn through it. But yes, it starts with us. It's the
Yeah.
foundation.
One thing for me that, because this is really about verbal branding and conversations and finding your words and, well, taking back your voice and taking back your words. Magnetic also get into first impressions and social
Okay.
skills like small talk, how to have meaningful small talk, which we've already touched today, how to approach someone you don't know, how to make a good first impression and confidently, because it's like any other skill, the more you do it, the easier it gets and the more comfortable
That's right.
you get with time. And with leaders, certainly you have your team that you're working with, your known parties, your known contributors, the people that you see day in and day out, but you're also going to have new people.
Mm-hmm.
That outer circle, that outer network that's growing, and want to make a good first impression. We absolutely want to stay true to our values, stay true to our, stay true
Mm-hmm.
to who we are at our authentic, which is a word right now. And I'm not upset that it's trendy because I think it's important. in the
You're right.
world
I've
of
heard a
fake
lot of
news and
authentic leadership language is popping up. I've also heard servant leadership popping up a lot lately. So we'll have to keep an eye on that trend. That's very interesting.
yeah,
But yeah, so people are picking up on these needs and
yeah,
these skill
and that's
sets.
exactly
Yeah.
their needs that people want. People are responding to. It's a trend.
Hmm.
Yeah, people want authenticity. People want not oriented leaders. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, in the mindset detox, I talk a lot about imposter syndrome. Is that something that you've
Ooh.
encountered? I'll take that as a maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it in the beginning, we kind of get into these leadership roles because we're really good at a particular skill or a particular process. And then when we get to that place of leadership, we have a whole new approach and skill set. So it's very
Yeah.
easy to think like, well, I'm just not cut out to be a leader. And it's like, nah, man, you just need to practice that skill, or you need to learn that new thing that you've never done before.
And
And
there's
why
no
would you be
shame in
great at it
that.
the first time? Yeah, no one's great at anything the
No.
first time. You pick it up. Even me as an expert in leadership and teams, I still struggle with this stuff, and I'm extra harsh on myself. I'm an expert in this, but guess what? Like, the practice is just a different game. And I always say, in math, 2 plus 2 is always 4, no matter or where you are in the world. But you put two people in the same situation, you're going to get a different result every time. That's
Yeah.
what makes leadership so difficult, because people
And
can be
interesting.
predictable, but yeah, we never
Yeah.
fully know. So we need that agility skill set, and that's
And
something
that,
we're always practicing.
yeah, and I think I just noticed that we have about 4 minutes left.
Hmm.
We're getting a little tight with time. So we got into the nitty gritty of the first one because it's so interesting.
It's a good
Um,
one.
so I think we'll kind of do big broad strokes over the rest of it, and maybe come back again for another session, depending on
Yeah.
feedback we get from listeners like you. So yeah, looking at the 3 levels are basically you, your message, and your tribe. So the tribe there, I'm talking about the community, the people you want to reach, the people you want to connect with. Nerds, maybe the people that either they're your co-creators, other influencers, your community, or your clients, the people who you want to buy from you. Your tribe can also be in a company, it can be your team, your followership. That's where we get really into who are the different stakeholders? What are the different levels? I think there's a common feedback thing called a 360 report. You probably
Hmm.
know more about that, where they get
Yeah.
into very intimately about where are all your touch points with your community. So that's
Yeah.
that level.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about just that, because the cute little tiles, they're so fun to talk about. They really are. But let's try and stay
Keep it
on the
broad.
left side just for another minute. So what do you think about that breakdown, the tribe and the message?
Again, it's the message, and then the stakeholders and the people. And for me, the tribe, we talk about in leadership, we should all have our own leadership,
Mhm.
right? So you should think about the different stakeholders in the 360s, right? So to be able to have your tribe to give you that feedback on how is your message coming across, what story are you telling, and then
What's
that goes
being
back
received?
into your foundation, right? So it's a reminder that it's not just you leadership alone, but it's the message and the people, the tribe. And I know that when I have hit hard times, I've picked up the phone, and I didn't even tell them I was having a hard time. I'm just like, I need to talk to people that I know care about me. And then that helped me bridge conversations to other stakeholders in my tribe, right? But that leadership board, those people, this is not work that is meant to be done alone.
Mm-mm.
This is not work that is meant to be done alone. It's you, your foundation, you need your tribe, and we practice our message all the time. Every day is a new opportunity to practice our message that we're trying to put forth into the world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you were a fan of Anne of Green Gables, but she had the phrase, every day is fresh with no mistakes in it
There you
yet.
go. Yet.
Yeah.
Because every day we'll have a mistake of some kind. Yes, it's a humble reminder. Yikes.
Yeah, but it's fresh with no mistakes in it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yet. So yeah, I think it's important because a lot of these things, whether it's for job interviews or having conversations with the team or just being in your role at work or in your role as an entrepreneur, most people or many of us think, I should know how to do this. It's incredible to me how many people are like, oh, I'm not good at job interviews. And I often ask, okay, well, how many times have you had time? Have you practiced? And
Hmm.
they're like, oh, well, I've only had like 3 or 4 interviews in my life. And
Hmm.
then I said, and how many times have you had training in this or gotten actual clear feedback on how you're performing? Not just feedback, you get the job or you don't, on your how you're presenting yourself. Zero,
Hmm.
zero. And yet we're all supposed to be just magically
Brilliant and
good at
perfect
it.
at it right out the gate.
What?
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense. But yet, we'll all go for I don't know, sports lessons and swimming lessons and things, and that we should learn.
Hmm.
But everything else be
Yeah,
perfect.
because leadership is intangible. We
Yeah.
forget that it still requires practice, just because it's not something a tangible skill, but it's a skill nonetheless.
It's a whole bag full of skills. And I like the way you
Yes.
said, and especially the work that you do. I think I'm going to stop screen sharing now because we're switching back. The work that you do with Engage, one thing I find incredibly powerful is taking squishy topics and quantifying it,
Mhm.
people data, and giving people hard numbers to hold on to analyze, to look at, to reflect on, to make goals about, and just be able to hold on to something that's not tangible or not as tangible. And one way you said it earlier is conversations. How many conversations? Who are
And
you
I think
talking
that's the
to?
work.
How often?
Yeah, and I think that's the work that you and I are both doing. We're taking something intangible and we're trying to help people bring it to something tangible that we can practice day in and day
Yes.
out.
Yeah. How many reps are you doing this week?
Exactly. How many conversations are you having this week? How many
Yeah.
reps? Very good.
Yeah. You can't do a pull up without training.
That's right. Well
Yeah.
done.
That's super. So we were actually over time. Oh dear, the school bell's going. We have to run. But it's always a pleasure to meet with you, Michelle. I'm really glad we had this conversation. There were some really fun sparks in there I really liked. Any closing words you'd like to offer?
No, I other than I encourage all of you to have an intentional conversation today. So before you leave today, think about what's one conversation that you can say, I'm going to intentionally have this conversation with this person, and maybe pick it around something that is very important to you. I think that's a great takeaway. I'm going to do that.
Well, that's
I'll have to think about
great.
what that is.
Yeah, you can even leave it in the comments when you've got one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know and we can track it. These are numbers. You're going to have a conversation today or you're going to have 2 conversations today. Start small. And yeah, if you can have a big one that you've been putting off, awesome. If
Mm,
that's too much, even do a small one. Do a small one with someone that maybe you wouldn't have spoken to today otherwise, but is in your inner circle, is in your tribe, is in your board, if you will.
mhm.
Reach out and
Great.
make those connections, have those conversations. Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's how this LinkedIn came about because Michelle and I were having those conversations.
That's right. Elizabeth's in my tribe. And look what happened,
Yay!
right? Conversations move things forward.
They do, they do.
Good.
And thank you so much for joining me live today. And we have to give Michelle a special round of applause, happy hands, because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe today is your very first LinkedIn Live.
It is my first LinkedIn Live. Yes. Elizabeth, thank you for the conversations and for inviting me. And yes, this was my first LinkedIn Live. So thank you for making that happen.
And now, scale of 1 to 10. Is it?
Oh, not painful at all. All day long, LinkedIn Live.
All right. That's it. We're doing it 24/7. Michelle World.
There we go. Oh, goodness.
All right. Thank you all. And again, please continue the conversation with us. Connect to one or both of us and LinkedIn, personally connect. Let's continue this conversation. If you have questions, drop them in the comments or even send us a personal message. We'll continue the conversation. If you'd like a copy of the screen share I did today, send me a message. I'll send the link for that so you can have it. Anything else? We wish you a wonderful day.
Likewise.
And all right. And whether you're mid-afternoon as I am or early morning, enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Ciao.